Hello and welcome back to the NRLW Weekly Podcast, all thanks to Lite and Easy, fueling Australian sport. My name is Marlee Silva. I have the great privilege of sitting on the sideline for Nine's coverage of the NRLW, and joining me, as always, the legend of the women's game herself, Sky Blues assistant coach Ruan Sims. Ru, great to see you.
Good to see you too, Marlee. Looking forward to a big show today.
As always.
Good guests.
Yes, we certainly do have a great guest coming up. What you can expect on today's show is a recap of round 2 of the NRLW, the top 2 with Ru, and Lauren Brown from the Gold Coast Titans, who is in some fine form. We check in with her and see what's happening in her world before we get stuck into our tips for round 3. But let's get stuck into things, Ru. I want to know, it's always your hardest decision of the week. What was your light and easy, hungriest player, team or moment from the week gone by?
Oh, this was a tough one. There were a few really, really good ones, but I'm going to go with for the hungriest moment. And it was Losana Lutu's try for the Tigers.
Oh, yeah.
I loved the way she moved through the middle. And I think even when you listen to the coverage, you can hear me yahooing in the background. And Gus Gould was very impressed with this young player. So, yeah, my hungriest moment goes to Losana Lutu with her try for the Tigers this week.
Beautiful. I think the Tigers, the bounce back in the beginning of that game in comparison to round 1 was pretty hungry overall.
Well, yeah, the difference for them was their start, definitely. I mean, round 1, they let the start get away from them. Round 2, they started on fire, 2 quick fire tries, put a lot of pressure on the opposition. So, yeah, I thought, yeah.
Good signs from them.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, top 2 with Ru this week. First one is a potential future.
Ooh.
And the potential future is around a potential future superstar coming into there. Well, she's a current superstar. But we have heard rumours, I use that word very lightly, but Portia Woodman-Wickliffe potentially interested in playing some NRLW.
Wow.
And now, look, what we read was that it could be next year. So it wouldn't be this year. So if it is next year, the Warriors are in next year. Ron Griffiths is going to be the head coach. I imagine he would be making a phone call very, very quickly after seeing that post and getting a meeting lined up, because anything that she is involved in, you know it is going to be magic.
Yes.
So if they can get her for NRLW next year, that is a huge up for the Wars, and that's a great kickoff to their return to the season.
Well, this is what we spoke about last week, and I think even the week before, there's a lot of hype around Rugby 7 stars coming to the game. And for people who aren't aware, Portia Woodman-Wickliffe, I mean, an absolute icon of rugby. I think anyone who knows anything about rugby knows who she is, Kiwi international.
If you want to know who she is, I think you can see footage of her making a tackle, but she's in attack. She goes into a ruck, and then the opposition tries to alligator roll her out of there or crocodile roll her out of there, and she just literally picks her up with the ball in one hand and just keeps going downfield. And that is the ultimate competitor. I would love to see her in any code of football, but if she was interested in playing NRLW, mate, that's a win.
I am already so excited and a little bit, I think the other NRLW teams should be a little bit scared of what the Warriors are going to bring if they're bringing a lot of their talent from other codes, and also just that fuel in the fire of coming back into the NRLW.
Well, I think a lot of girls who were either contracted or interested in being contracted with the Warriors have clauses to say that when the Warriors come back in, that they have an option to go over to leave their current contract. So I think they're going to have a great team. Ron Griffiths, we've seen what he did with the Knights. We know what he can do as a coach, and then he gets the opportunity to build it from the ground up, and I think that's really exciting. And then, other converts like Stacey Walker makes her NRLW debut this week for the Broncos. So we're seeing some great superstars, and we've got superstars from Sevens in the game still.
Yeah,
Vani, Politi, Emma Tonegado, lots of other girls there. Niall Williams-Guthrie.
Yeah.
We've got great superstars that have come across, and we love having them.
I actually just saw on Instagram before we came in studio the welcome home party for Tyler King, formerly Nathan Wong.
Wasn't it great?
It was so beautiful from the Dragons because, she's back.
She's back as well.
And I think they need her for their first win.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What is number 2 in the top 2 with Ru?
Number 2 for top 2 with Ru is I had the honour of being in the comms box with Phil Gould on the weekend. And just hearing how much he loved watching Simima Taufa and Losana Lutu was epic.
Yeah.
And, he is somebody who has done a significant amount within the game and for the game and has a real eye for talent. And when you hear him speak about some of these players, it is absolutely fantastic to see how much he enjoys it. And obviously he's head of the Bulldogs. They have an NRLW team coming in next year alongside the Warriors. So he is very much invested in the women's game and its future. And yeah, I thought it was really great. I actually did ask him who his favourite was because he was very pumped about Simima and then he was very pumped about Losana Lutu, and he just said they're very different.
Yes.
They're very different players, which they are. But yeah.
Yes.
I loved that moment. I thought it was great.
It was beautiful to hear someone, like you said, who's so respected in the game, both men's and women's now, for his perspective. So take a listen here. Here's a little bit of that commentary of Gus's love affair.
She works just as hard as Simima Taufa, Gus.
Impossible.
Who's your favourite, Simima or Losana Lutu?
Different players.
The Tigers with Sarah Tonga-Tuki.
Yeah, but Simima Taufa, she mows the grass, she marks the field, she puts the lines out. She does everything before the game as well.
Yeah.
Then she cleans up the dressing room afterwards.
You're listening to the NRLW Weekly Podcast with Marlee, Silva and Ruan Sims. Thanks to Lite and Easy, fueling Australian sport.
At Lite and Easy, we know that champions are made through hard work and dedication. That's why we partner with some of Australia's top athletes and teams to help fuel their performance. With Lite and Easy's delicious, ready-to-eat meals, athletes can focus on what they do best. Our meals provide the right balance of nutrition to help keep them at the top of their game. From the fields to the courts and everywhere in between, Lite and Easy is fueling champions. Lite and Easy, eat well and play hard.
Now, I'm very excited to say it is time to invite our guest into the studio. Joining us from the Gold Coast, it is the Gold Coast Titans superstar halfback, Queensland, breaker of New South Wales hearts, the one and only Lauren Brown.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you so much for making the time. We are so excited to talk about, the incredible football you've already been playing this year, but it's important for our listeners to get to know who you are away from the footy field. So we have a fast 5 questions to kick things off that are kind of non-footy related.
Okay.
Does that sound okay?
Yeah. Oh, I'm nervous. Okay.
Start with a softball. Where did you grow up?
I grew up Gold Coast.
Oh, so you've gone back, you're playing in your hometown.
Yeah.
How
playing
good is
in my
that?
hometown. It's pretty cool, and even our BMD comp up here, I play Burleigh Bears, and my pop and my dad also played for the club, so it's pretty cool to rep the local.
That is very cool.
That's amazing. Who was your sporting hero growing up?
It's probably no secret, but I love Darren Lockyer. He was my idol. Titans didn't have a team when I was growing up, so Bronx were my team, and I idolized Lockyer. Cool, calm, and collected, and it's a pretty good kicker. So definitely Lockyer.
Well, you've been taking some lessons off him, I can tell, definitely. Do you have a guilty pleasure TV show or one that you just binge watch?
Oh, I would say it would be Gossip Girl. I've just rewatched all, I think, 5 or 6 seasons for probably the 5th time through Origin period. So I'd say I'd go back to Gossip Girl and just binge it. Very trashy, but it's fun.
What is your go-to pump-up song on game day?
Ooh, probably depends on my mood. I love a bit of Cardi B, so Bodak Yellow. Or Mad City, Kendrick Lamar, but there's a few naughty words in that one. So,
do you bleep them out yourself when you listen to them?
Yeah, I just pretty much.
And do you have any superstitions on game day, or what is your game day routine?
My game day routine, if I'm at home, I normally go for a swim in the surf, get a coffee in the morning, just kind of chill out and not think about footy until I get to the ground. obviously same game day undies, game day sports bra as most of the girls. Shave my legs.
Aerodynamic. Very important. Is it so your leg can swing through the air faster when you do
Pretty
drop
much.
goals?
Aerodynamic, like, you know, just don't want them to grip onto those hairy legs. So yeah, I like to shave them, and then probably just do I do a bit of visualization and a bit of meditation when I'm at the grounds with goal kicking and things like that. But that's probably about it.
The final one of these questions I have for you, Lauren, is you're a firefighter when you're not playing rugby league. So what was more nerve-wracking for you? The first fire job that you went to, or running out onto the field on grand final day last year?
Oh, I would say probably grand final, only because I haven't, since being on shift, I haven't had any huge jobs where, you know, people's lives are at risk. So academy, they definitely put us through our paces and, you know, hurled everything at us and, you know, made us stress. So that was super stressful. So I was probably more nervous for academy, but yeah, I would say grand final day.
Yeah, I think hearing that, we can better understand why you have such a cool head on the field in those high pressure moments. Ru, you're a firefighter as well. Does that job help you kind of, I don't know, get a bit of perspective with some of the stuff that happens on the field?
Well, Loz and I we were just talking offline about this, and I'm going to ask Loz about it actually. It's what I found when I was playing, and I'm sure I think you feel the same way, Lauren, is it's being part of rugby, a footy, and then having my career at Fire and Rescue, New South Wales. It sort of actually helped me switch off from footy.
Yeah.
It actually helped me mentally switch off so that when I was ready for footy or it was time for footy, I was more engaged and present. And I guess my question, to you, Loz, is do you feel the same way? Has it helped you in the same sort of vein?
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think, you know, we love to let footy consume us, especially in season. So it's been really good to have the Fireys to focus on away from footy. So when I am away from footy, I'm, you know, just doing my normal life or focusing on Fireys. So then that saves, as soon as I rock up to training or a game, I'm in footy mode. And I think it's just refreshed my mind a little bit, like you said, and I probably can focus a bit harder and for longer with footy because, you know, I'm refreshed for it. So I definitely think, having that Fireys away from footy really helps, and even, you know, having a good work-life balance. You've got your Fiery mates and your crew there that are always supporting you, and then your own, you know, theory things you do on shift. You're always working with Fireys, so yeah, it's definitely helped.
And do they give you as much stick there as like having brothers and sisters at work? They just constantly give it to you?
Yeah, they do. They do. They actually, you know, will repeat things that you guys say on commentary or something, and just give me stick about it. And so that was me. I think it was on Monday. I copped a bit of smack from the crew, but they're so supportive. And even if it's not my shift that are on when we're playing, all the other crews, they'll have the telly on, getting around the girls. Even if it's not our game, I feel like we've got a whole new kind of audience to NRLW, which is really cool. They love the Origin, they love the NRLW, and I'd cop a bit of stick and a few newspaper cutouts get hung up, but but it's all fun.
Well, I don't know if it was the same for you, but when I first started, a long time ago though, there was a rule, if you ever got caught on TV or something, you had to buy a slab of beer for the crew.
Yeah.
And then when I started doing more media stuff and the women's game started getting a bit more, I was like, listen, how about I just do a cook up for you, because this is going to cost me a fortune. Do you guys have the same penalties?
Yeah, we do. They up here they love cheesecake. So anything, if you're driving and you hit a gutter, cheesecake.
Oh yeah, cheesecake.
Do anything silly. Forget your
ice creams.
Yeah, cheesecake. It originally was anytime your face is on telly, cheesecake. So I was like, cheesecake shop down the road, I have on back order. I
was going to say, if we start seeing you running out with gear that has Cheesecake Factory or something written on it, we'll know that you've got yourself a sponsorship, because you can't afford to keep buying cheesecake.
Hustle because she can't afford any more cheesecake.
If you're listening, Cheesecake Factory, sponsor Lauren Brown. She needs some help.
Please, I need it.
Oh, that sounds like so much fun, and I think that we've all seen you go to this next level with your footy since you've started that career. So I think what Rue's alluding to there is, the proof is in the pudding or in the cheesecake in this case. So after last year, your girls had a great run with the premiership. You get to grand final day. Obviously, that's devastating to lose. But how did you come back together, recoup, and start this season really strong as you have?
I think it hurt, like losing that grand final, it hurt, and it still hurts to this day, and I'm pretty sure we all haven't rewatched the whole game back because it's just too soon. But we also, we're just so proud of our efforts, especially the turnaround from 2022 season being at the bottom of the table to then doing a full 180 going to the top. I think we had to, sit back and go, wow, we achieved that as a team, staff and players, and I think that was pretty cool. So we kind of took that, in our stride going into next season, remembering, how hurt we felt at grand final season, but also being proud of getting there as well. So then I think our whole mentality for this season was what we did last year was amazing, but it counts for nothing. That's probably the standard we need to set at pre-season and build from that. So we haven't achieved anything. It's a brand new season, and I think that's our mentality going game to game.
Now, you spoke about that turnaround from finishing at the bottom of the table to then being in the grand final the following year. From the outside looking in, it was based a lot around that mentality around defence and that junkyard dog mentality that you guys was talking about. Can you explain a little bit to us about that? Because I think it just shows now, and that is really part of the Titans' DNA now.
Yes, yeah, 100%. So junkyard dog originated from Buffer, Matt Geyer, one of our assistant coaches. It was actually just a throwaway comment he made one training, I think we were doing a defensive drill, and he's like, you just got to get that junkyard dog about you. And then we were doing a fair bit of stuff with our values and stuff, and then that came up, and we thought that was a really good representation of what we kind of want to be known for as junkyard dogs. No matter how big if a team has a big lead, they're not safe, and they know that we're coming for them, and we do that through being relentless in our defence. And I think Murph put it really well, was attack with our defence. So starting our sets and everything, just if we get our defence right, then the attack should follow.
Last year, definitely, I'm a very objective sideline commentator, right? But Loz, I think you know this. I became a little bit of
a... You had a Titans jersey on last year. And I'm pretty sure we can find footage of that.
Please find footage.
Yes, that was what I was getting to.
Sorry, I ruined your story.
No, but I think I just was lucky enough to see some of your culture in action. I got to see you on presentation night up in the Gold Coast. But also, I think having my first interactions with Karen Murphy and being, such a lover of the girls as I am, she remains to be the only female head coach that we have, that I was like, this is just amazing. And I sort of loved the whole storyline, and I love you girls very much. But I wonder, for people who, maybe are new to NRLW, who maybe are only just starting to hear Murph as they come into the sport, tell us what she's like and what her leadership brings to the success you've seen in the Titans so far.
Yeah, so Murph, it's hard to put words to how important she is to the club. I think, she is the greatest of all time, and I think everyone can probably agree with that. I like to kind of compare her, I reckon she's the Wayne Bennett of the women's game. In regards to, she just has every single player's respect, even, if they don't play under her in her team. I think everyone just has this huge respect and appreciation for what she has done for the game and the person she is. She's, she can be quite firm and stern, but that's what you've got to be as a head coach, and everyone respects her. So that's, we follow her. We all say in Murph we trust, and we do. We know that, whatever her call is, we are 110% behind her, because we just know that she is that legend, and we are extremely privileged to be able to play under her, and especially me playing half. I'm always trying to pick her brain with, little things, little tips she can give me, and she's always, willing to go the extra mile and take the extra time for every single player in the squad to make sure that she's getting the best out of them, not just on the field, but off the field. We have a huge thing about having good people off the field, and that's, I think, tribute to Murph,
I've got a funny story for you, Loz. 2013, we were in England for the World Cup. It was New Zealand were going for 4 World Cups in a row against the Jillaroos, and we were playing in the final. And we were ahead with like 40 seconds left on the clock. And New Zealand knocked it on, and we were getting ready for a scrum. There was like 40 seconds left on the clock. I remember I turned to Murph and I was like, Murph, we've won. And she was like, shut up and get your head back in the scrum. And I was like, yes, Murph. And you can see that, right? You can see her saying that, can't you?
I can 100% see her saying that. Yeah. But I think she is also the most humble person you will ever meet. And she's got, so many accolades, and everyone calls her the GOAT, but she would never once admit that herself. And I think that's her best quality. She's so humble. That sums her up perfectly.
Yeah, I reckon we could see her in the Hall of Fame, first female in the Hall of Fame in the very, very near future.
Yes,
I imagine.
For sure. You guys have so many threats across the park. We really look forward to seeing what you guys do for the rest of the season. I'm conscious of the fact that you have a shift as a firefighter not too far away, so we won't keep you for too much longer. The last thing I wanted to ask you about was you have become renowned for kicking field goals, which I'm sure is a little bit funny to you. Like, how did this happen, right? But in these clutch moments, you've been the ice in your veins, Lauren Brown, and been able to ice those moments. That is not easy. Keeping a cool, calm mind is not easy in that moment. I mean, I imagine. I've never been put in that situation, but that's what I imagine. Could you tell us, is it surreal? Is it kind of you go out of your body? What happens in those moments?
Yeah, it is surreal, and sometimes it doesn't really sink in until I see the girls running towards me. I think that's my favourite part is seeing the smiles and how much joy it brings, my whole team, and seeing them, and it's like, oh, it's just about to swear. I was like, oh yeah, sick, we did it. It's pretty unreal. But in regards to what goes through my mind in that time, I'm honestly just directing the girls to get to the spot for me, and then I just sit nice and deep, knowing that hopefully I get enough height under the ball that if they charge it down, they either get hit in the head and we get another set of 6, or it clears them and it goes over. But it's probably back to, the Fireys helps with my thought process, and Rue can probably speak on this. It's very it's not outcome driven, it's very process driven and task at hand. So instead of worrying about if it's gonna miss or go in and we win the game or lose the game, I'm more thinking what I have to do. So first catch the ball, ball drop, follow through, head down, and then look up, and it's going through the post. So I'm mainly just focus on my process, and then hoping that helps with the outcome.
Yeah, well, it's working so far, but I like that as a way of breaking it down, the process. That's a really interesting concept, and we love seeing you do it. I'm sure you would prefer that you're just winning by a fair margin right at the end of a match.
No more. I've said to the girls, no more. Thanks. I'd be happy if we win by more than 1 point, please.
Well, Loz, thank you so much for your time. As I said, we're loving watching you play this year, and we can't wait to see you for the rest of the season. Good luck with it.
Yeah, good luck on the weekend.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
It's so great to hear from Loz, and I think especially I can see that beautiful kind of bonding over being firefighters that you and her have, and how beneficial it's been to both of your careers. I love that perspective around that work-life balance.
Yeah, and it's so great that she's enjoying it and that she found that as a career opportunity. And the proof is in the pudding, as you said. Since she's gone through the Fireys and she's now graduated and she's a full-time Firey, her football has gone to a whole nother level. She was great beforehand, and now she's elite. She's just so fantastic, such a talent.
Absolutely. We thank her again for sparing her time before she goes on night shift Now it's time for some of your questions. If you, as you should be, tuning into NRLW Weekly each week, you can hear your own questions answered in real time. So make sure you're sending them in via DMs, or we have a little link where you can leave a voice note as well. So listener questions this week, our not so light and easy questions. Actually, that's what they've been titled as.
Okay.
So, they're really...
That sounds ominous.
It does, doesn't it? The first one comes from listener Mary. Is there a better way to schedule the games? I can't get my kids to a game at 11 a.m. on a Saturday as they have sport on. Also said love the show. So thanks, Mary. I think this is a fair question, and I think it's one that has certainly come up with people that I know who are just fans of the game and would struggle to come. But scheduling and things. Is that why this happens, Rue?
Is that why what happens?
The timing of an 11 a.m. game on a Saturday. It's like TV scheduling, right?
It's also, I can understand the frustration with it. I'm also really excited that we have this problem.
Yeah.
It's a problem that we didn't think would exist 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's a positive that this is an issue, and it's a positive that we're getting questions around it. I can understand why it's scheduled so early. It's so that there's no competition for viewers between the men's and the women's.
Yeah.
It's so that you can just basically have a whole day of footy, which is amazing.
Yeah.
But Mary, I absolutely understand what you're saying, and I don't have the answer for that. I think it's something that will be looked at. The competition is going to grow to another two teams next year. So there's an extra game that's going to be added in there. And it's a good headache to have. And I'm sure that that's something that the NRL is workshopping now. How does this look? Where does it sit? I know that 11 is tough because kids' sport is on at that time, and it's really important that they stay engaged in the sport from a participation aspect as well as viewership and attending games. So, I'm sure that that's something that will be addressed, and I think it's important that we look at it, how it sits.
Absolutely.
But, I agree with you, Mary. It's important that we check this out. I don't know what the answer is right now, but, I'm sure that we'll come to something that would work.
Here's the good news for you, Mary. Two things. Most of the teams aren't at the same time slot every single week, so you will eventually be able to take the kids to one of the games. Keep a good eye out on what the schedule looks like. Number two, while you're sitting there watching the kids' sport, on your phone, 9 now, there's the games. So you're covered, and you can fill the kids in on how well it went. Our second question, and this is one I think that broke both of our hearts. We saw a huge loss on the weekend with Jada Taylor. It was confirmed that she has ruptured her ACL, a terrible season-ending injury. And for such a bright young superstar, I imagine this is really, really heartbreaking for her. It was Adam who sent this in, and he also said that as a Sharks fan, this really pains me.
Yeah. I think it pains anybody who loves footy and loves watching good young talent coming through, because she's had such a torrid run of injuries.
Yeah.
She hurt her ankle last year. She had surgery in the off season on that, and shoulder, I think it was as well, to make sure that she was ready to go for this year. And she was just starting to find her feet again. And to see her go down with that injury was absolutely devastating. And it is a huge loss for the Sharks, because she is so young. So she's the future in that position for the club. It's also, pain is heaped on that when Emma Tonegata is unavailable with calf issue as well. So that's why she hasn't been named this week. And, it's a tough one.
Yeah,
it's really hard. And I feel for Jada, because she's got plenty to give, and that is a big loss for the Sharks. And we're just, I know what she's like. She'll get through her work in the off season. She'll make sure she's ready to go for next year, but it is a massive loss for the club.
And our wishes, and our best wishes rather, are with Jada on that speedy recovery. I would also say the silver lining is she is so young. There's a long career ahead, and unfortunately there's no more footy for this year, but plenty more for her on the horizon.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're listening to the NRLW Weekly Podcast with Marlee Silva and Ruan Sims, thanks to Lite and Easy, fueling Australian sport. We'll be right back just after this.
It's Millie Boyle from the Sydney Roosters, and you're listening to the NRLW Weekly Podcast with Ruan Sims and Marlee Silva.
Welcome back to the NRLW Weekly Podcast, thanks to Lite and Easy, fueling Australian sport. Rue, it's time to get stuck in to what is already round 4 in NRLW. I hate how quick it goes.
I know.
It makes me sad.
It
like,
does go super quick, doesn't it?
I'm just like, no, I feel like I just got back with the girls. Like, I don't want it to go this fast. But thankfully, what we can guarantee is that there's going to be a lot of great footy for us across the weekend.
5 good games.
And it all kicks off on Saturday at 11 a.m. We'll be up on the Central Coast at Industry Group Stadium in Gosford as the Roosters take on the Tigers.
Yeah, this will be a big test for the Tigers, won't it? They showed up really well last week against the Titans. They had a good start. They changed their approach from the week before. They had a great start to the game. And then obviously just the class of the Titans got over them. But they had some really shining moments in there. So they'll just fix up the middle a little bit and make sure that they've got a bit of starch in there. And they have to, because the middle for the Roosters, they are imposing.
Yes.
Absolutely imposing. Like Millie Elliott got through a ton of work.
Incredible.
On the weekend. Pani Hopewadi had a great game as well, as did Atessa Poulet.
Yes.
On the edge. They were fantastic. And this week they've named Jocelyn Kelleher to start at lock. So that adds another ball playing ability.
Yeah.
And will take a little bit of that pressure off Keely Davis to constantly work the middle. So that's a pretty exciting change. They have named a huge bench. The Roosters.
Yeah.
So they're all big bodies on the bench. So to me, it looks as like they're going to play a real power game and try and knock the front door down for the Tigers. So that's where Sala Tongatuki, Christian Pio, they're going to have to really step up and get through a ton of work in the middle there. And then when Tash Penatani comes on, Tara Renke, those girls, they're going to have to really hold that middle, because I imagine that, the task this week is to knock the front door down for the Roosters.
Yeah. We actually she ran into us, Tigers co-captain Kezzy Apps, as we were leaving Allianz on the weekend, and she was saying how hot it was up in Queensland, and that really fatigued them, and they all, felt really dehydrated after the game. I wonder, like we were saying, they started so strong and then they lost that gas. I wonder how much the weather plays an impact in that and being caught on the back foot or whatever. So hopefully they can regroup and make it, a tighter contest than, what we've seen previously.
Yeah, well, sometimes that can just take a bit extra out of the tank for you, because you have to just work that little bit harder to regulate your body temp as well as all the other stuff that you do in the footy game. So, yeah, that could have something to do with it. But I know that they'll turn up and be very willing, for sure. Yeah.
Well, straight after that game, we will head back down to GIO Stadium, where the Raiders have another home game. It's going to be a massive day down there in Canberra. They've got, I think 4 games at that stadium. So it'll be a huge crowd, big Viking clap, I imagine, and a tough task for the Sharks.
Very tough task. As we've spoken about previously in the potty, some injuries with the Sharkies. So Tiana Penatani will start at fullback, and she's played there before, so that's no drama. And then Georgia Hannaway and Taylor Preston will be in the halves pairing. Speaking of defensive efforts, Brooke Anderson is going to be, her and Simima Taufa will be battling it out to see who makes the most tackles for that game. And it's really great to see Nakia Davis-Welsh getting a start this week. So she's playing number 14, coming off the bench. Could potentially play 9, could potentially play centre, could play in the halves. She's got a lot of versatility there, so that's good for her. For the home side, they're looking really good.
They are.
Really, really good. I think Zahara Tamara is relishing her captaincy.
Yeah.
And it suits her. She's playing very well, and her and Ash Quinlan play off each other very well. I think that halves pairing is very strong. Good kicking game. Ash Quinlan has a great running game as well. So they will constantly test the back 5 of the Sharks and force them to come out of trouble. And then through their middle, obviously, Sophie Hollyman.
Yeah.
She gets through a ton of work.
Is she not out with the bicep injury?
Oh, they've named her, so I'm not sure. They haven't said whether she's out or not.
Well, because that looked really bad. She didn't finish
she was
the
in a
game.
sling.
Yeah.
She was in a sling.
Well,
so
that's good news if it's not that bad.
Yeah, hopefully it was just maybe a cork, or I'm not too sure. Well, she's named in the squad anyway. So whether or not she takes her place to start in the game or not, we'll find out 24 hours or an hour beforehand. But I also thought that Holly May Dodd was really good last week. I mean, to have a line break off a tap is almost unheard of because the defence is usually really set, ready to roll, and she just busts straight through. So it was really good to see her. And then Mima just
Mima.
Is Mima.
Yep.
She
That's what
she
you
had some
could
like
say.
40 tackles, 193 metres, and no errors.
Crazy.
70 post-contact meters, 2 tackle breaks, line break assist, an offload. She just got through a heap of work for them. So she leads through her actions.
Yes, absolutely.
And then obviously you've got, your Grace Kemps and your Kere Matua coming off the bench, which add a lot of punch. So
Yeah.
the Sharks will be up against it.
On Sunday, I will be up on the sideline in Brisbane, where I hope it's much warmer, can I say. I'm quite excited for some sunshine. We have a double header at Totally Workwear Stadium in Brisbane to kick off day 2 of round 4. It'll be the Cowboys up against the Eels.
Yeah.
Interesting again, because I think the Cowboys, that was such a high-scoring game against the Dragons on Sunday night.
72 points?
Crazy.
72 points, was it? In the end? Yeah.
Crazy. I can't do math, so I'll take your word for it. But I'm
Maybe 74.
I'm quite interested to see how this one unfolds.
I am too. Also really interested in the change that Rick Henry has made with Crystal Blackwell at fullback. She's been playing very well there. And I think Fran Goldthorpe, sorry, Fran, like her on the wing.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting change, and he's gone and named them that way this week. So I thought that was great. Obviously, they scrambled really well, the Cowboys last week, because then Jakaya had to go to a wing because of the injury, and there was a lot of movement around there, and they still did very, very well.
Yes.
Ebony Roughstrand-Smith on the other wing as well. So this will be interesting to see the halves match up for me. Cassie Tohihiku for the Eels has been electric.
Hasn't she just?
Pun intended. And Rachel Pearson as well versus Tallulah Tillett and Kira Dibb.
Yes.
So Kira, huge kick.
Yeah.
Has a good running game as well. Tallulah, great short kicking game, and her running game very strong. Cassie Tohihiku, great defender.
Yeah.
Great on her feet, moves around really well, and has a nice little kick in her too. And Rachel Pearson obviously moves the Eels around the park.
Yeah.
Yeah, she kicked a 40-30 round 1, turned the tide for the Eels, and then they just played off the back of it, which I thought was fantastic. So the matchup between those two halves is going to be key. But for me, if Elsie Albert runs riot through the middle, that'll get the Eels on the front foot. I thought S.A. Banu had a great game for the Cowboys last week. She did plenty of work just in short stints. I think she had 3 stints, but worthwhile. Every single minute of those stints was worthwhile, and they played off the back of that, which is great. And then Emma Manzelman comes into play then. Yes. So that's where the key is for those guys. I think if see how those middles hold Elsie up. Yeah. And what I thought the Sharks did really well last week against Elsie was they got line speed on her and they took her time off her. Because if you give her too much time to wind up, she'll just run through
It's
you.
dramas.
Yeah.
It's dramas.
But she's developed a passing game now, which looks a lot more comfortable for her. So she's adding another feather to her bow, which I think is really cool.
For sure.
Yeah, so this will be an interesting one. And Kennedy Charrington I thought was really strong for them last week. And she was strong in round 1 too.
Yeah.
I think the Eels will be too strong for the Cowboys with this one.
Yeah.
I think they're defensively, they've got a lot of starch in their defence, and I think they scramble really well on their try line, so I think they'll get the job done.
I think they'll be really hungry from how tight the loss was against the Sharks as well. That could just push them even further. After that match, we'll go straight into a bit of a Queensland derby where Loz Brown, who we just spoke to, will be facing up against the Broncos with her Titans teammates. Bronx, they're 0 from 2. Like, this is very, very rare for Brisbane. Yeah. I think that they will be fired up, but how do you see this unfolding?
Yeah, I think, this is probably the match of the round for my mind. Huge excitement for me to see Gail Broughton back.
Yes.
I think
they've missed her.
Yeah, they have missed her. Skylar Adams did a great job for them, but Gail adds another layer. And then you've got Skylar Adams coming off the bench. So she can use that footwork and her pace. And she's quite a big body, Skylar Adams. But seeing Gail Broughton back is massive. I think it'll take a lot of weight off Ali Brignshaw's shoulders as well. They can share that load a little bit more. And she acts as a really good foil for Ali. And then... can't wait to see Stacey Locker.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to see her out there.
Yeah.
I think she is electric. I mean, we saw her in the Olympics, how good she was. And, I think if they can find the right space for her, then she's just going to run right. She's going to have a great time. And it's going to be really interesting because she's up against Georgia Gray.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be a good test for Georgia
Yep.
to see how she goes up against that power and strength of Stacey. And then obviously Varney gets through a ton of work for the Titans,
Yeah.
constantly working. Lauren Brown has had an amazing start to the year at 7.
Yeah.
Georgia Hale provides that really good service alongside Brittany Brayley-Nati out to her halves, which give them a lot of opportunity. We saw Talia Fuimaono get a little bit more ball at the back end of the game, which was great. She got to do a bit more running, which is her strength.
Yeah.
And then just the middle battle is going to be huge.
Yeah.
Obviously, Chelsea Lenarduzzi starting, seeing her and Keely Joseph go up against their Queensland
Yeah.
compatriots in Shannon Marto and Jess Elliston.
Yeah.
That's going to be cool. Jada Ferguson did some great stuff at a 9 as well. So,
For sure.
yeah, this is going to be a really, really tight one, and it's going to be very physical.
Yeah.
And I think this one will go down to the wire.
Yes.
As much as Loz says she'd like to win by a bit more rather than the 1 point, it's going to be very close. I do think, however, that the Titans will continue the pain for the Broncos.
Yeah.
I
I actually immediately just remembered last year when they met was at the Gabba, and that was when Loz kicked that first field goal, and it was that hilarious footage of their assistant coach at the time, Aaron Booth, running in and picking her up.
I know. He was the first one there.
Which made me laugh so much. But yeah, I really agree there. I think we could see a bit of a repeat of that come Sunday at 1:45.
It could potentially be a golden point.
Ooh.
That's they have class across the board, both of these teams, and I think that's how close it's going to be.
Yes. And our final game of the round will be at 6:10 p.m. McDonald Jones Stadium, Newcastle, defending premiers who are maintaining their form, the Knights and the Dragons. The Dragons, I think that they showed some real guts on Sunday too.
Yeah, they did. They scored a lot of points. They conceded a lot of points.
Yes.
That's the only issue that I have for them, is that the Knights are full of points. And if they conceded 32 or 34,
Yes.
that's needs to definitely be tightened up, because if you give Tamika Upton a sniff, if you give Jessie Southwell a sniff, they will really make you pay.
Yep.
And they can find a gap. They can
Yeah.
find a gap. And for me, the Knights rotation is really strong. And I think Hannah Southwell had the best game I've seen her play for a while on the weekend.
Yep.
And she got through a ton of work. And she also did a little bit of ball playing too, but she was a run-first mentality, and that set the tone for the whole pack.
Yeah.
Then Taylor Predabon was hitting it up. Caitlin Johnston-Green was hitting it up. Liv Higgins had some space to play with out the back of it. For me, the Dragons will be – they'll try it. They'll stand up to it. I think if Tegan Berry gets a lot of ball, that'll be good for them. I just can't see how they can hold the Knights out for 70 minutes.
Yeah.
The Knights are just too strong of an outfit. And I love that Casey Ray is starting at 9.
Yeah.
Which is really cool for her to have that opportunity to start NRLW, because she's been playing majority. Once she comes on, I think last week she came on after 14 minutes, and then she played the whole game in the middle. The only thing is I just worry that she'll have to get through a lot more work from an early start while the Knights pack is fresh.
Yes.
And that may take a bit of her running game out of her. But yeah, this is going to be a tough one for Dragons, but I think the Knights will just be a bit too good at home.
Yes. I mean, I spoke to Ben Jeffries after their game on Saturday, and he was saying he's sick of having his heart tested because it has been quite tight games for them.
Both games have, yeah.
So I think they'll be with a home crowd. I think there's the men's game beforehand. There'll be big numbers at McDonald Jones. Really tough for the Dragons. So hope for a good contest nonetheless.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much,
Anytime.
Rue, for your genius.
Anytime.
As always, love hearing it. Always feel very well informed. If you're loving the show, make sure you're telling your mates. Get in and around it. Make sure you're hitting follow or subscribe wherever you're listening. Give us a review. That always really helps as well. Share it on your Instagram as well. Tag us. We'll reshare.
Yeah.
We love it. We love you guys. And send your questions in every single week. Other than that, 5 incredible games of NRLW across the weekend that you can tune into on 9 and 9 Now, live and free.
Yeah, we've got it all.
We sure
We've
do.
got you covered. You didn't do any screenshots of people's comments this week.
Oh, I didn't.
We had so much to talk about. Maybe next week.
next week.
Maybe next week.
Well, Thank you again. This has been the NRLW Weekly Podcast with Marlee Silva and Ruan Sims. Thanks to Lite and Easy, fueling Australian sport.